Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to day number 3 of Behind the Cake Nashville Takeover After Hours session. And we are here with Mr.
Dave Bradwein.
Give it up.
Thanks, guys.
Yes,
Dude.
absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for
Man,
being
so let's talk, dude. What have you been up to?
here. Man, so the last year or so, last few years, but mainly the last year, I've been playing with an artist named Forrest Black. So that's been my main road gig. And we did a big support tour opening for James Arthur earlier last year.
Yeah.
And that was a big, heavy, fun tour because James has been playing arenas and stadiums all over the UK and the rest of the world, and they hadn't done a US run. So when they did this US run, like, we're going to play these theaters and do the US thing, but we're going to bring all this crazy production and take an arena and shove it into a
Yeah.
And then we're out there as a 3-piece opening for that. And so that was a little over a month, and that was a fun way to do the first half of the year. So we did that, and then was doing some more things around town, and then in that same group, Forrest, we went out on a headlining tour this last fall. So that was a lot of my year last year, was kind of being in that space.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the main thing. And then in between that, last couple of years, I've been playing with another artist named Sean Stemley, who's like a country rock dude, grew up in Kentucky, Indiana border. And so he's like, has this straight up country vibe, and then has this rock Van Halen dual guitar shred vibe, and then like this, blasting Lil Wayne vibe. Like,
Hey, there you go.
Trifecta. So that's right. So between the two, between like pop love songs, which I love, and like doing a very sequenced show, and then like swinging for the fences and playing big rock country stuff, that's been kind of my last little bit.
That's awesome, man. So on Behind the Cake, we have a couple segments, man. I'm going to start you off with Out of the Pocket, okay? So what that is basically we talk about what are your habits maybe off the road, or things you have to bring on the road to keep you going.
Man,
and this is non-drum related stuff, by the way.
Absolutely. I'd say that one of the biggest non-drum related things for me is coffee. I'm a big coffee nerd. Not a coffee snob, but I'm a coffee nerd.
It's a different
Non-aggressiveness.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You don't like what?
Right. It's past life I would have been making coffee right now, even though it's as late as it is. But yeah. So honestly, it's twofold. One of my favorite things to do on the road is to go find a great coffee shop nearby, especially on a bus tour when you wake up and you're already in the city that you're at, and then you can just go and wander and find something nearby. One that's nice, kind of solitude time, so that it kind of gives me an excuse to go find some space for myself in the morning, which I think is really important. But also, I just love good coffee and so that thing, and then saving those all to my Google Maps coffee list and keeping track of what I like in different cities and all that. I mean, so to me on the road, that's a really big part of it. Not to mention, taking people to places that I found previously. That's kind of a nice little, it's nice going to different restaurants and food, and I like that stuff too, and I love cooking and all that. But coffee is my version of that. So that's pretty important.
Do you bring that on the road? Do you take anything with you?
I do. I wish it was, it's actually right, that Pelican case up there. I've got a little like pour over set up with a grinder and all those things, and I'll bring that with me. And
serious, man, you put that on a Pelican, dog?
Yeah, so that way it can get thrown around, and all the guys make fun of me.
Can't be losing that.
Yeah, right. Well, they'll all be making fun of me and like, oh, you brought your drums and playback and all your hardware and your coffee.
Yeah.
Hey, if we're in the middle of nowhere, if we're in a coffee desert and there's nowhere to walk, I'm the guy in the green room before the show. Like, we're all pretty trying to stay more healthy these days, and so it's not like being in my early 20s being on the road and
you want to put a Keurig in my bunk next time.
I mean,
hey,
in the bunk.
That's a pretty good idea, right? Yeah, you see these guys on on like arena tours with a road case that opens up with a full coffee bar, a full bar. You're
Damn.
Like, okay. Bucket list.
Yeah. Put that on the rider.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, coffee's a big thing in terms of that for myself, but also kind of becomes a big part of the road. Other than that, I go in and out of being better or worse at working out and go to the gym, and
I think we all in that boat.
Oh yeah.
But even if I can just get out and take a walk and just kind of get some time to myself, because you spend a lot of time with other people, which I love, but it's nice to take some time to yourself and walk and get some steps in and just kind of decompress.
Let's touch on that, man. How do you think you condition your mind for being on the road like that? You just putting yourself in different situations.
That's a great question. Well, I really enjoy being on the road because you get to put on the same show, even though it's never the same show, in a different place for a different crowd every night. So for me, the thing that changes is the people and the location, but the show itself, the material, most of the time stays kind of the same. So putting myself in the headspace of replicating the results of the things that are working and changing the things that aren't working, and kind of making that, like, upping my batting average and kind of making that a challenge to myself. I really enjoy that challenge, especially in like pop music. And so I'm trying to beat myself. I'm trying to beat yesterday's show. And then also dealing with the things that pop up that are new, dealing with each room and how each room feels, and each city, and the crowd and the people that are there, or the audibles that get thrown on stage, or the main artist that I work with, he almost does crowd work like a comedian. And so our shows change because he'll start talking to someone and they'll FaceTime someone else, and all of a sudden we're on this tangent, and it's pretty cool. And so all of those things, it's trying to embrace the things that are the same, and then also just get trying to do better at those things, better than I did before, is a fun game to play with myself, and then also embracing the new every single day. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, and I feel like that is something that most people would even struggle with when it comes down to that kind of thing, because it's a balancing act. Yeah, and then you happen to pivot. Is that something that when you're on the road, consistency is one of those things that is hard to find in an artist that is almost, like you say, like this type of act where they're constantly changing it up? Like, how does that reflect in you, and how do you take on a job like that?
I think the first thing that's the most important is to really, really get rock solid with the stuff that's not going to change. And in my capacity with Forrest, for example, I'm his drummer, I'm his MD, I'm the playback guy, and so much of what I'm doing on a prep situation, in rehearsals before tour, even before rehearsals, and then also as we go throughout the different shows, is, can I keep the consistent and safe and locked parts of the show as locked as possible? How do I keep the train rolling forward and on schedule as much as I can, so that when something happens, we have bought ourselves the ability to roll with it in that moment. And so you have to, I don't want to call them interruptions because that sounds a little bit negative, but the new things that happen in the moment, we have to make sure that exists in a space that is allowed. I don't want those things to force their way in. I want him to feel like he has space to be organic, but then I have to figure out a way to move the show along without it feeling forced, because I don't want to stop those cool one-off moments, but I do want to make sure that we finish on time.
Right.
So it's a balance for sure.
And especially, man, as an MD, and I'm an MD at my church, and a lot of times I'm running playback and stuff, same things, even with some different capacities. But like, as far as that, man, like, there's a lot of pressure on us to like know what the artist wants. Also, we're their MD, so we have to kind of figure out how to, like you said, keep this train on the tracks. And let's say, he or she does kind of want to take a right turn, be like, okay, here's how we steer it back on, And I think I think it's important to kind of learn how to put yourself in a headspace. I'll be blunt, man. When I'm sitting there building Ableton shows before tour and stuff, dude, I'm getting pissed off. I'm frustrated. Something's happening. Something's going wrong. But then once you kind of settle in and you get past that first rehearsal and you keep hitting your next marker or whatever, however you run your rig, and things are just flowing, you're like, hey, there's a sense of like gratitude and a sense of like, oh, all right, we did it,
Yeah, we made it. We made it through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too, because the artist that I work for the most has that element of keeping things very consistent, but also dealing with audibles in the moment. But then some of the other artists, so Sean, the country guy that I play with, his show is the same every time. And it's a lot of that is because he loves that consistency. He thrives in that consistency, and so that's a very different animal. We're prepping for a show next weekend. We're playing in Maryland, and I haven't played with him in a couple of months, and so I was trying to mess around with some things. What can I make better? Let's look at the session as we left it and try to figure out how the show. We left the show in 2024. Should we do anything for 2025 to make it different? And I was on the phone with him yesterday talking, and he wasn't quite comfortable with making some of the changes I was talking about. So it became very clear in the moment that I was looking to make some changes, but he was looking for the safety of the show. He wants to just go and do his thing and feel free so he can perform. And so I kept everything very the same. I'm gonna add a little bit here and there to let it breathe and to change some things for the guitar players and things. But for him, from his perspective, the safety is in the repetition and in the sameness there. So it's very different to artists.
How do you manage that? Like, is that from the tech perspective on that gig, or is that from the players for you?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
From the tech perspective, I always want to make sure that, because every artist deals with, if we're going into, playing a show that's on the grid, that's with tracks, with clicks, with cues, every artist interacts with that stuff differently, right?
Yeah,
So you can go, what I would say, to the far end of that, which is would be a high production, in my head I would say church style tracks where everything is cued, every single section is counted in and out.
Yeah.
A lot of times, even if we're talking in the pop world or country world, a lot of times that'll happen when you don't get a lot of rehearsal time.
Right.
So everybody can be on the same page and not worry about arrangements. You don't even have to think. The chorus is coming in. The bridge is coming in. The guitar solo is finishing up here. But every single artist interacts with that differently. So some artists love to hear all that stuff in their ears. Some artists don't want to hear any of that stuff. Some artists, will do a separate artist click and then a band click, or artist cues and a band cue. So from a tech perspective, my job is to talk to them about it and to see if they have the bandwidth to have that conversation with me. And if they do, even if they do, you have to kind of play a little bit of Yoda mind games and try to figure out, what do they actually want? And then with the players, what do the players need to execute their parts? If you have guitar players, there's tuning involved, there's guitar changes involved, and to figure out how do you build in that time to a show, keep the show moving. And make sure they're comfortable, but also make sure that they have the time and space they need without stopping the momentum. So, then it becomes a lot of personality reading. I've joked around for a long time that if I ever did enough in music that I got to write an autobiography or something, I would call it sitting in the back staring at butts.
Yeah.
We're reading nonverbal cues all the time. Where you're watching headstocks on guitars, you're watching people's. You're making eye contact, but you're really just reading people. It's body language, especially when you play with people for the first time, or you're not as experienced playing with those people. But it becomes a lot of psychology, and then the tech, and then also just you're behind. You're at the back of the vehicle, driving the vehicle from the back. It's very interesting. You're seeing people move ahead of you, but you're still having to kind of steer from behind. It's interesting. So it's emotional, it's technical, it's psychological, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. How do you think you deal with different people's personalities, from just a psychological standpoint?
Man, it's all relationships. Hopefully it's a lot of friendships. Then that's the cool thing about most people in the music industry is that most people are cool. I kind of push back on the notion that there's a lot of stuck up people in the music industry. I think most people are cool. Most people you're in a bus with, most people you're in a van with, most people you're driving to an acoustic gig in a Toyota Camry with. Most people are cool. We all want the same thing. We want to play cool music in front of people that know the lyrics, that want to sing along. That's at the end of the day. But personalities are personalities. What I'm looking for out of a situation in any given moment is not always what someone else is looking for. And how do you deal with that boss, friend, coworker, artist, band member dynamic at all times? It's very different. And so I think I try to come into every situation trying to figure out what am I looking for? What's important to me? But then also, before I try to push or guide the situation into where I think it should go, I want to listen first, or I want to observe. I want to kind of take that 10-foot back perspective to make sure that if it's talking to the artist, that the artist is happy in that, and kind of see what they're going for. And if it's the other band members, I want to make sure that they're comfortable and they're feeling like they're part of the team too. So the shorter version of that answer is it changes every second of every day.
Yeah.
And I think you're lucky if everyone's cool, and you're lucky if everybody is friendly and friends. I've been very, very lucky to have pretty much be friends with most of the people I end up on tour with, which is great.
Yeah.
It helps.
How do you handle that? Like, what do you need it to be for you? Because most of the time what we're hearing is like a really good hang or just being around great people. And, you know, sometimes we're hearing like, oh, you know what, we want a specific amount of time to be home with the family, or it has to be a certain dollar amount to get out there. Like, where are your needs to be able to get out there on the road as a tech or as a performer and say like, this is worth my time and my effort, but also mentally I know I'm going into a good space?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question because I think it redefines itself all the time. You know, I wish that I could say that I'd played enough bigger gigs on a certain bigger level that I was able to be a lot more consistent with, you know, this is what I need to leave my house. This is what I need. And I strive for that, not because I'm saying, oh, I need to make more money.
Yeah,
I strive for that because I want the consistency. And also I want to be able to, I want to be able to go out and make a decision that's going to impact my year in a way that feels like I'm getting compensated for that, you know. But the answer changes from gig to gig. So, you know, people talk about this all the time, but there's the infamous gig triangle, which is the, you know, to do a gig, there's three pieces of that triangle. There's like the personalities and the hang, there's the music, and then there's the bread. And you're likely to get one of the three. You're lucky to get two of the three, and you're amazed to get three of three. And you know, when I talk to friends of mine that are playing on really, really high levels, sometimes I'm shocked to hear about which of those three things they're compromising on. You know?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you'd think it's a lot of money compromising, but sometimes it's not the money. It's the hang.
Yeah.
Everyone's in separate buses, or everyone's in, you know, and that can be okay. Like, I'm happy to show up to work and do my job. If that job is playing drums, like that, I'm fine with that. You know, I don't have to hang with everybody.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to figure out ways to get at least two of the three.
Yeah.
And it generally seems to work. I think the one thing that I've learned is that you're not always getting the same two or two out of three as the gig progresses. It definitely changes over time. And hopefully you get more of the ones that you like, but it's just keeping my expectations open.
Sure.
I think that at the end of the day, I said it earlier, but I really just want to be on the road playing shows to rooms of people that love the songs that the artist that I'm working with is playing. And if I can then make them move physically by playing drums and giving them a beat and give them something to dance to or move to, that makes me happy. And of course I got to live, but I really do enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think even just adding to that, I feel like most of the time we are hearing consistently like that triangle, these things of having to sacrifice for and only having two of the three or three of the four, whatever it may be. But I think a lot of the times what I'm hearing is somebody is lacking in their mental health, and there's just not that ability to have that on the road and it be compensated on the road. It's the thing that suffers the most, and there's not enough money or hangs or good music to be able to help with that. What's your opinion on that?
Well, at the end of the day, yeah, the triangle can be the triangle, but your own mental health is that fourth thing, or it's all of it. You know, if you're not in a good place, you can only fake the show so many times. You know, you can be sick or feeling depressed or whatever it is and have an okay show. But if you do that too much, then all of a sudden it'll impact everything else that you're doing. You start to get run down. So whether it's, you know, going out and finding some solitude and getting a cup of coffee in the morning, if that helps your mental health, great. You know, my partner and I, she and I have evolved what it means to be in contact when I'm on the road. That's changed so much.
Yeah.
And we've been together 12 years. The first tour I ever went on that we were together, how we talk to each other every day or every other day, whatever it is, that's evolved, and that impacts my mental health. It impacts her mental health. And if she's not with me on the road, but she's having, if she's having days that are more difficult, that has an impact on me because, I'm in sound check and getting a text and I want to make sure that she feels appreciated and respected, but I'm in the middle of a sound check and I don't want to be that guy that, that leaves sound check, but I also have to make sure that's okay. Or we're in the bus and she calls and do I take that phone call around everybody else, and what does that mean for me? What does that mean for her? And so, yeah, it's an interesting thing. You have to, I feel like it's easy to romanticize the highest levels of touring and what that means for your ability to buy space for yourself and buy time to go to the gym or find a coffee or sit and meditate or, do jumping jacks out back behind the venue. Obviously, the higher of a level that you're in, the more you're afforded because more of the other jobs are being done for you. I'm still setting up and tearing down my own drums and still, I'm not at the level where I have techs. So what I've found, speaking of that, is actually for my own mental health, one of my healthiest moments of a show day is my teardown. Getting everything loaded, getting it into the trailer, wherever it is, and taking that time for myself after the show before I go out and hang. Before I
down and relax.
I've found it to be really, really nice. And that has because for the most part, we're a lot of the gigs I'm on, it's all hands on deck. And also, I don't know what idle hands are. I don't know how to not help. I don't know how to not be doing 9 jobs at one time, which I think makes me an asset. And that's what I want people to see from me. I do so much, but I love all of these things. It's not a burden for me. Yeah. But that also means that from the moment we've stepped foot in the venue, I've been working the whole time.
Right.
And so for my own mental state, it's become very important to take that time after the show, especially when there's been some tours where we all kind of pitch in and help with merch. Depends on what level you're on. That has to be done right when the show is over because that's when the people are there. So if you're going from show to merch to then packing up, it's a lot of mental state, and that's why I have a lot of empathy for the artists, especially the artists that spend time at merch after the shows or do meet and greets. They got to be on hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and that's very commendable and difficult. So trying to find my space.
I guess we're back, guys. We had to do a little quick battery change, and we were just talking about gear. And sometimes, you have to make those difficult choices of, I don't want to take the nice little kit that we always put on IG out on the road, but you also want that sound that you're also proud of to have on the IG posts. And I think you can talk on that.
Well, one of the things that I think is really important is involving the artists in your decision of what you're bringing out on the road. I think aesthetics are huge. I can't go buy a kit just because of the artist wants a white kit on tour. I also don't have a formal relationship with Gretsch, so they're not going to send me anything. That would be lovely. I'm shooting for it. But just something as small as this kit is like dark wood grain lacquer. It's reddish, brownish. I think it's super classy. It could work for most things, but the artist, he loves my black sparkle kit. He thinks it's classy. He thinks the light hits it a certain way, and he's so used to it. I showed him this. He came into my studio, and I sat down and played it, and he's like, Dave, it sounds incredible. Bring the other kit. Because that's the vibe. He likes that vibe, And then, I have an orange Gretsch Catalina Maple, which is behind the camera, but it's over there. And I've had for, since I was 17, and that's probably the kit I've brought out the most just in general because it's just a maple set of kit, but it's orange. It's not wood grain. That is an orange drum set. I would never buy an orange drum set, but I bought that one because it sounds good and it's wonderful and it was cheap at the time and it was before they had the renown. So the Catalinas were kind of what the renown was, and so the hardware was pretty good. And but that doesn't work on a theater pop show unless that's the aesthetic, So. Just the visuals of it is one thing, but then also the sound, I can get different sounds out of different kits. We all can. And so I'm trying to make sure that it serves the music and the sound that is appropriate for the gig that I'm in. And also not even just the gig I'm in, but the songs that are going to be on the set list. I'll add cymbals, take away cymbals, add toms, take away toms. Depending on what we're doing. It's not really about me. It shouldn't really ever be about me. I want it to work for the show.
Do you bring your sound to every show, or do you feel like you change your sound based on the show?
I think it's a balance. I think we all hope that we get to the point where we play something and someone hears it without seeing us and they're like, oh yeah, it sounds like you. That would be really wonderful to have a sound. And I don't know if there's any part of my playing that has done that yet. But I mean, I've been playing drums for like 26 years, and so there must be something in there that's me.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy serving the song. You know, you were saying earlier off camera that you're a groove guy. I love great grooves and I love playing songs.
Yeah.
I went to school for jazz. I can play stuff. I can chop up. I can play, but like almost never does that find its way to a gig.
Yeah.
Just because it's not, it doesn't serve the song unless it's asked of me. Yeah. And then when it's asked of me, it's a very specific reason why it's there.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
You know.
Let's touch on that, man. So, you were talking about you like to serve the artist. How important do you think that is to kind of take a back seat and be like, hey, I have this thing, I have this idea, but I'm working for you, and I'm not gonna let my ego or my pride get in the way from the sustainability of this gig.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things ever.
And to be honest, a lot of cats that I've been on the road with, like, you know, they don't have that. They're always like, oh, you know, yada yada. And I think I'm like, man, just play, dude.
If you want to play whatever you want because it makes you feel good, then you should be the artist. And that's great. You should do that. You should start your own project and you should tour and you should be the artist. You should have your name on the marquee.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a service position. I am serving the song. That is literally my job. It is the thing that I've loved since, you know, listening to music as a kid. My mom would play a James Taylor record or whatever. And you're like, why does this sound feel so good?
Yeah.
It's, you know, and then there's moments. That's the thing, is it's not about not playing the super hot shit here and there. It's about why is it there and what's its purpose. But my ego shouldn't get in the way of what the song is supposed to be doing. And, you know, there's one song so when you work with an artist for a long time, you find that they tend to approve certain sounds or decisions or vibes more than others. Yeah. So you start to realize that, oh, like when in doubt, I can probably do one of these 3 or 4 things and they're probably going to like it. No matter what song it is, no matter what tempo, no matter what vibe of the song.
Sure.
And that's part of, like you were saying earlier, getting to know the artist, and it's a little psychological. So now I know, okay, I've got about 4 or 5 fills that if I play in any song, he's gonna like it.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes where it just doesn't connect. Like there's a song of Forrest's called Love Me, and it's off one of his earlier records. I think it's his first full-length record. And it's a great song. And it's like this halftime shuffle. Yeah. And it has like little reggae vibes because he grew up in Jamaica as a kid for a few years, and he's Canadian, but he has this like, there's this Jamaican part of his blood that he can't get. It's just in there. It's baked in. So a halftime shuffle to him doesn't sound like Rosanna. It sounds like it's almost reggae. Yeah. It's really interesting because, and if you start to rip apart what his notion of this groove is, turns out there's this really strong reggae through line. But the record doesn't sound like that. The record implies that. Yeah. And it's programmed drums. It's not a real drummer on that song. So we've been trying to put that song in the set for 3.5 years. Wow. And I pride myself on being played. Like I've played with a lot of cool reggae guitar players, like in Chicago. Like I can turn that thing on as much as like a white Jewish kid from the suburbs of Chicago can. Like there's a certain amount, like culturally I don't have that experience, so I'm not gonna pretend I can play authentic reggae, but like I can live in that world for a minute, right? But I thought that I was nailing it, and every time we've rehearsed that song, it's just not quite what he feels.
Did you recognize that he did?
He's like, I know you're doing great, you sound good, it's not you, but we're not nailing the thing. So that is a case where we've at some point we'll nail it. At some point that song's going to be in the set and it's going to feel awesome, and we're going to figure out but what his expectation for that song and my expectation, and then the record version and all the implications of like what's not being said but just felt, at some point we'll figure it out. We'll reconcile that moment and the song will click and then we'll have it. Yeah. But most of the time, you know, I'm just trying to make you know, any artist happy. And try to play things that serve what they're doing. But when you have that rub, it's interesting. Instead of being offended by it, I'm almost challenged by it. Yeah. It's like, hey, I've been shedding love me.
Do you think that's what kind of drives you? Is like, hey, you know, I'm gonna do this thing, and I'm gonna try to do it the best of my ability. And if someone doesn't like it, I'm gonna do the thing again, and I'm gonna try to serve them. I think from just what I'm gathering from getting connected to you, meeting you, is that you're one of those cats. It's like, hey man, like I'm putting my ego in the back seat, and I'm gonna let my 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 servant part of me take the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I'll keep saying it. Like, I love great songs. I love great songs. And one of the things about drums is they can be loud. They can get in the way. They can step on things. But uh, a drum part that just fits, a drum part that supports, a drum part that makes someone feel something is so important to me. And if someone, I'd rather be asked to give more than have to be told to play less.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've been on both situations. I mean, I the first wedding gig I ever played. You remember people turn around and like, hey man, why are you playing that? Like that's because you're excited and whatever that is. I'd like to think that I keep my ego in check with it because it's more important to me to have it be. Product is a weird word. I don't want it to feel stale like that, but it is. I mean, someone who loves the music of the artist you're playing with, they're coming to the show for a reason. They're coming. They want to hear the songs the way that they're used to them, and then some, and then some excitement of the live show. So how can I bring my A game, and how can I do things that excite me, but that translate and excite the audience and excite the artist without making it about me?
Yeah, definitely, man. So I'm gonna do this. We have a segment called "Welcome to the Pain," right? Okay. And that's just real deep, real raw, real just nitty gritty stuff.
You ain't gonna even ask him if he wants it. You're just gonna give it to him.
I'm not gonna do it, man. I'm not gonna
Welcome the pain.
Consent. Let's go.
All right, here's the segment called "Welcome the Pain."
Man, so Art can touch on this, man. He and you can say it better, Arturo, about just what drums means and why that rhythm hits your heart.
Well, I mean, I guess to kind of get a little deeper on that, like his question was like, what drums mean to you and like how they hit you a little harder, and I'll take it a little bit further than that. So we all have something that we go through in life and nobody gets unscarred, right? Whether you're coming from Chicago over here to escape something, or you're wanting to find something better, or you're leaving something behind, it's like it's always a push and a pull, and you don't go somewhere new because what you're leaving behind is the best thing in the world in most cases, right? So you can touch on that point, but the second point would be like, did drums bring you to Nashville and it was that thing that you were trying to leave behind that wasn't serving your life back then? And was that pain allowing you to become a better person? Did you allow yourself the ability to break that pain down through drums, or did you have another way, another means to allow yourself to grow, and drums weren't even there?
That's heavy. Yeah, I think the first thing about physically changing locations, I think the easiest way to say it is following the work and following the opportunity. That's a little bit stale, but it's true. One of the reasons why I've changed locations a couple of times is because I'm looking for something more. It's less about looking for something different or something. I'm not trying to escape what I've had. I'm running towards something I haven't. And so, I'm constantly trying to fight complacency, trying to fight the idea of getting too comfortable and getting too used to just making it work and not pushing towards the next thing. It's really tough because that it's a very easy way of, you can also feel unsatisfied, and I don't want to feel unsatisfied, or I don't want to feel like I'm not enough. You definitely catch moments of that, but I've been looking for something more, and so my switching up my location has been one, where are the people that are doing the thing that I want to do? Where do they live, and what are they doing? And also, what opportunities exist there, and what friends do I have in those cities and places? So, and drums has been a thing for me since I was I mean, officially since I was 10 years old, but I mean, I have that classic story of like my mom was pregnant with me and they were somewhere and she heard music and I was like hitting along to the beat. And, you know, just it's, you know, it's cliche, but I mean, so it's been important to me forever. So I've been chasing it and it's been chasing me. So I think at the end of the day, yeah, that's the biggest thing is I'm looking for something more, and I'm not trying to move the carrot either. You know, it's easy to like achieve something and then set an expectation and just you never win. That's all. It's an easy trap to get into, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm looking for something more. I'm looking to do more with the thing that I love, and that's play the drums. I don't know if that quite answers.
Well, you said like 26 years, right? 26 years of playing drums. So, you know, can you sum that up in one word?
One word. I say progress, or learning. I've never stopped learning, and I think that it's important to never rest on your laurels. There's always something you can be doing differently or better, and it's not even challenging yourself. Just you know, like the moment I bought my first GoPro, crappy old like second generation whatever GoPro, I I I started seeing. I mean, this is really early on. This is like we're talking early days. Even if social media was there or not, you started to see people posting videos of live shows. And as a fan of people and of drummers, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I love watching from their perspective. And I bought a GoPro, on like a Best Buy credit card, financed it, like you did before anything else. And I started putting up a GoPro at my gigs, and I would watch it back. And I'm like, why am I doing that thing?
Yeah.
And that's like one of the biggest. My life was changed by videoing myself play live gigs.
Yeah, man.
It's been the best teacher I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I have hard drives and hard drives and hard drive stuff that no one has seen of gigs, so that's been a very long term progress or learning curve for me, because I'm teaching myself. Not to mention going and getting lessons and talking to other drummers who I respect or who have different things to offer to me. I never want to get to the point where I can't go take a lesson from someone.
When was the last time you took a lesson?
An official lesson, probably a few years ago. I worked a lot with Dave Bradwein.
Oh yeah, the posture man himself.
Yeah, and he'd be mad that I'm cut slush.
Yeah, same.
That in the last, let's say in the last 10 years of my life, my experiences with Dave were the most foundational, because we barely played drums.
Yeah, I hear people don't play drums with him when they get lessons from him.
This is another podcast. I could literally talk about why I think he's the man for a very long time.
Run it. Go ahead.
One of the things that I think is the most important is it took me where I was, and he made some very quick, astute observations of how I was holding and carrying myself behind a drum kit. I think I played like 3 bars of a groove, and he was like, "All right, cool, stop." It's interesting. I haven't seen him in a long time, but it's not because I don't want to.
Correct.
It's because I'm still every day thinking about all the stuff that he taught me.
What are some of those things?
I mean, so the first thing that so he took me from where I was. He accepted me in the form that I was when I walked in, which I think all good teachers should do. I don't think talking about being egoless.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of teaching. Teaching should not be about the teacher.
Correct.
It's the teacher can bring something unique to that, and that is really cool. And you want that. You don't want it to be the same as everybody else, but you have to take every single student where they're at and then bring them forward in the way that's appropriate, the best to them. So he listened to my story for the first like 20 minutes. We chatted and it was great. And then he had me sit down at the kit, and I played 3 measures of a groove, and he stopped me and he came and he sat next to me on the floor. And he grabbed my leg and he lifted my leg while I was sitting on the drums, and he said, "Okay, let me hold your leg." And I tried to do it and I couldn't do it. And I was like, he's like, you're still holding your own leg. And so he was lifting, he wanted me to let go completely, just let the complete weight of my leg just down.
Mhm.
And when I finally was able to do it, he would drop my leg and lift it up and drop my leg. And we got to the point where I was letting him hold it completely and I was dropping it. And then he said, okay, put your foot on the kick drum pedal and lift your foot up yourself like I was and just drop it down on the kick drum pedal. And I went like this, and the sound out of the kick was like such a rich, dark tone sound just from that. I wasn't even trying to hit the bass drum. And that changed my whole perspective.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
a deep.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
It was, and then he sat down on the kit. I have a video on my phone, which is only for me, but I have a video of me switching places with him and sitting on the floor and going like this, and he demonstrated a bunch of different techniques, and he has a really good way of showing his different various techniques for different types of hits on the kick drum. And he played into the head and then played off of the head and then played a double and played a triple and played just a nice single stroke. And he showed me all these things, and then he switched with me and took my phone, and then I played the kit after having talked to this, and my kick drum before and after in the span of 10 minutes sounded crazy. And then talking about my leg, it goes up to the hip and realize how much tension I was holding in my hip. And then it had to do with seat height and had to do with sitting up straight and had to do with how do you relax in between hits. And then and all of this stuff, from that moment on, I started thinking about those things in a way I hadn't. And that was really foundational for me. It gets very mental. It's a mental game because you don't want to think about that stuff so much that it distracts you from the actual music you're making, but you want to rehearse it and practice it and be mindful of those things so much so that when you hit the stage you can turn everything off and you those physical habits and mental habits just start to happen on their own.
Right.
Awesome, man. So I guess speaking of some of those habits, what are some mental habits that prepare you to do your job?
That breathing. It's a physical habit, not a mental habit, but that has become an extremely important part of how to center myself. And then that breathing calmly and slowly and long will put me in a physical and a mental state to then move to the next step. So that's been really, really important, not only while I'm playing, because that's a whole nother part. How do you breathe? I've said to my students, like, you're breathing enough to stay alive, but you're not breathing in a way that is helping you. It's assisting you in being relaxed and powerful and intentional behind the kit. So for me, to get into that mental state, it starts with breathing and sitting and being still. I'm naturally, kind of fidgety and always kind of trying to do something.
Right?
Yeah, especially drummers too.
You gotta be a drummer, dude.
Like we're playing on ourselves, and if
you don't have ADHD, you're not a real player.
I mean, I think it's built into just being a drummer, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think that a good mental habit for me is to just try to slow down. Because I am naturally a person that overthinks. I'm naturally a person that is always running options. I'm naturally a person that is trying to see every situation from every angle, and I think that makes me good at what I do. But it also can bring a lot of stress. It can also bring a lot of discomfort. So on the one hand, can you weaponize that into being, as my mom was like a Renaissance man, you do all of these jobs with aggression and with purpose. But then can you also learn how to just slow the hell down? And it can be difficult for me, but I think I've focused a lot on that over the last bunch of years, trying to be present and to just be in the moment, whether it's on stage or whether it's, recording session or whether it's, just talking to people. I think that's really important because I know that I function better when I'm moving a little bit slower, and just trying to be a little bit more relaxed, giving myself time to actually think about what's happening instead of just reacting.
Is there a difference in what you did in Chicago with that mindset than when you got here to Nashville?
Yeah, well, Chicago was where I cut my teeth. I grew up in the suburbs of the city, but was in the city a lot, and went away to school, but still in Illinois, and then came back to Chicago and started living in the city and started gigging. Mm-hmm. And the mindset then was do everything, take everything, double, triple, quadruple book yourself, play every gig, just, the hustle, the grind, the thing that you're supposed to do. And it taught me a whole lot. I feel like I have 30 years of experience just from those like 10 years or 8 years that I was doing that in Chicago. So that mindset was a lot of go, 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 go. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, I made the decision well, I'm going a lot, but what am I achieving and what kind of gigs am I doing? And I'm not, I've done some touring, but I'm not really doing it at any kind of real level. And so I made the decision to move to LA. And at the time, my partner and I, we were trying to figure out LA or Nashville. And she really felt like Nashville. And I really felt like LA. And this was 2019. And so we decided, okay, let's try a year. Let's rent rooms in friends' houses. And let's be back and forth between the two cities. Let's be in Chicago too. And let's just try a year of like what works best. And so that mindset became a lot of me being on a plane, hopping back and forth and physically putting myself where the gigs were. Mm-hmm. So if I had a gig in Chicago, I'd fly to Chicago and play in Chicago. If I had a gig in LA, I'd be in LA. If I was spending time with her, I would come here. And so that was less crazed and much more intentional. I was putting myself in a place specifically for what work I had. But I didn't feel like I had a home. Mm-hmm. I was staying with people that I loved, some of our best friends, and they were amazing. So I felt comfortable, but I didn't have a home. And then as soon as we made that decision, like 2 years ago, to move to Nashville, we made a decision to let's make a home of a place. And I was on tour at the time, and we were talking about places, and we were both kind of on Zillow looking at some spots. And she's here, and she was actually in LA. It was funny. I was on the road and she was in LA visiting some friends. We were both looking, and she was getting home the next weekend, and she found this house. And she's like, what if I go look at it? She got home the next day. She went and looked at it, and she called me. She's like, I think we should take it. Yeah. And we did. And the second we made the decision, we were freaked out because we didn't intend on making that decision. And we both had friends in Nashville. She'd been there for 4 years at this point. And so anyway, long story longer, we get here and we set up and we're in this place and we're trying to make it our home. And I spoke earlier, I have a studio. This is a really weird utility room. Our washer dryer's back there, trying to figure out how to play. But I have a space I can play drums. Right. We have a yard with a fence. We finally got a dog. We've been waiting on that forever. She's got an office. We've got a guest room, and it's Nashville, so it's not price prohibitive. Like, it's actually affordable to live here. So I don't have to do too many gigs just for money. Mm-hmm. So all of those things cycle back into the one point, which is I didn't do it on purpose, but I feel like we've arrived a little bit at like, okay, I kind of feel like I have a place to rest my head and to have my space. And that's largely has done wonders for my general mental thing. I'm still freaking out and trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life and trying to find gigs and, and all that. And that doesn't change, but it is the hustle's different.
And how do you go about that lifestyle depending on how, I'm assuming maybe she's a freelance work or work from home?
Yeah, largely. She does a lot of different things. Okay. She's actually an incredible artist and songwriter herself.
Oh, okay.
And she's done that her whole life. But parallel to that career, she's also done all this. She's worked in the music business the whole time.
Okay.
She's worked for record labels. She's worked for marketing agencies, and she's done tour managing, and she's done production work and live stuff and hospitality. She's done all those things. So we get each other. We're on the same field, but still a little bit different. Yeah.
So even in that type of schedule, because now y'all are both going at it in those types of fields that require you to travel a lot, how do you manage a relationship for flying to Chicago, Nashville, LA, and you're just taking the gig, you're just taking the opportunity, you're each going at it in different places over, you say, an 11-year relationship, right? Where does that come into play with dating somebody that is in the same field as you are, which maybe to a viewer looks like an ideal situation, is it ideal? And how do you balance that with just maybe not even seeing each other for a while?
Yeah. It's ever evolving, and it's never the same thing.
Yeah.
It's never the thing that worked last week. It isn't necessarily going to work next week. Have to be willing to take a minute and talk about stuff and be open and honest and really just try to reevaluate as much as we can without over talking it, without beating it to death. I think so. The biggest thing we found is we have to not pretend that the thing that's always worked is the thing that's working right now.
That's good.
And it's not easy, but I don't think relationships are supposed to be easy. I think that if you're living in a world of flowers and rainbows and everything is all happy, I think that's it's not bad. That's wonderful. But I think that might be a sign that maybe you're not talking about everything that you're feeling. And again, if you feel happy and you're in a wonderful age, you should be happy and live in flowers and rainbows. But not saying it has to be bad and painful. I'm just saying that it's the real thing about being with someone for a long time is that it changes all the time. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, but like the first tour I ever went on since we were together, I'm just like, I'm on tour.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in my early 20s and I'm just running around and you're partying, you're having a great time. And like, maybe when we text, you know, you can text, but maybe you don't talk every day. You don't talk, you know, for a few days. And then when you talk, you try to, you know, and you're catching up, but it's like, no, we'll catch up when I get home. Really, you know, we're just like touching base and then moving on.
Right.
And that was okay at one point, but then at a certain point, that level of contact, like, well, that's not enough. So then it's about, okay, so how do you evolve that and make it into something that's healthy for both of us? Yeah. This last tour, the headline tour that I was just on, I flew her out to Montreal, and she stayed for a couple days in Montreal. She'd never been.
Yeah.
But we. And so we had a day off, and then we had a show day, and then she stayed an extra like half day the next day while we drove to Ottawa, or wherever we went to next. And things like that, that's not always possible. You know, if I had billions of airline miles and could do all that thing, I would. But little stuff like that has become a really wonderful way of, you know, figuring out ways to be together when we're not together.
Sure.
And you know, and then we had an off day in Nashville. And instead of like running around and trying to do all the errands and things that you know halfway through a tour, we had a day together.
Yeah.
And that's what we did with that day. And I did laundry, but like we had a day. And so it's ever evolving. Yeah, I think it's important that it's never the same thing.
What can you say that you have had to change over the years, just personally, about your own habits of being in a long-term relationship, one that has a partner that is in a similar industry, and you're constantly open to this change, you're open to evolving, you're wanting to welcome the pain, and how have you grown personally that you can speak on with that ever-evolving change? Has it helped for the better? Is there something recently that you've conquered? Is there a mountain that you just constantly were trying to climb together that you just never could wrap your head around? Like this reggae song, you just can't nail it. There's something with it. Like, is there something in the relationship where, as a touring musician, and that never-ending chase, and we'll get to that later, but that never-ending wanting to be filled, and you'll never get filled enough through the music, which is a whole nother thing. But with the current question is, you're in a relationship that's long-term and you're both in the same industry. What have you conquered that you can say you're really proud of with 26 years of being in this industry?
Yeah. Well, I think the communication evolving and just changing, we're really proud of.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's, you know, you have moments where it's not easy all the time, you know, but it's, I'm proud that we've continued to not tried to do the same thing for too long. Yeah. So that I'm definitely proud of. One of the things, it starts out, it's not the most exciting thing, but one of the pieces that's changed as we've gotten older is scheduling and calendar stuff. It's so boring to talk about. I'm telling you, man.
I'm trying to teach these guys how important a reminder it is.
Dude, I like to plan whatever kind of OCD I have. Like I make lists, we make to-do lists, you know, it helps. But my core professional goal is to still play awesome gigs.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the things you have to learn how to do is when someone says, "Hey, are you free?" and you're free, you go and do the thing.
Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with your partners.
Yeah. It sounds like to me, man, you are, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like to me you make the little things a extreme habit in your own household, or you try to make those things really imperative to come across as, hey, like I'm gonna make sure I shoot this text. I'm gonna make sure I get these flowers before I go out of town. Like, why do you prioritize those little things? Why does that matter to Dave so much?
It matters because I'm not that good at it. It matters because it's easy to get lost in just moving.
Sauce.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I'm really good at showing and showing up in some areas. In other areas, I'm not as good. Not because I mean to be, but just because I'm a human being, and because sometimes I get tunnel vision on one thing and I forget to be in another place. And so I can't answer your question and say what am I super proud of by saying that like I'm nailing all those little things. I'm doing really good in all those little things because I'm not.
Yeah.
Some days I'm great, and other days I have work to do. A lot of days I have work to do. And I've learned that I got to take care of myself before, you got to put your mask on before you can help someone else. That's important, but also, I want to be better at those things. It's a constant evolving goal. So, but it matters to me whether I'm doing a good job or not. It matters quite a bit. It really is important to me to try to do a little bit better than I did the day before.
I can tell, man, because we talked about this off camera, and just as we get to know each other more, is you're playing drums, you're MDing, you run playback, like all those little things. You don't have to do all those things, you don't.
No.
But the fact that you do, like, what drives you to want to be like, hey, I want to do these different hats for these cats. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to make sure I show up and show out for these people. What in your heart makes you want to do that?
I mean, on the one level, I talked a little bit about like seeing the whole field and kind of being an overthinking person. And, when I see a void or I see a gap of something that needs to be filled or done better or done differently, if I have the skills and abilities to help with that, I want to pick it up. I want to be there. If no one else can or will do that, I want to, if I can, I'd like to be the one that helps. And I guess there's a sense of pride there, in the one hand, but also I like to be the one that helps. I like to, it's a big picture goal. If at the end of the day the show goes really well and people have a great time, it's not even about getting the credit for those things, but it's nice to know that I have some hands in the sandbox, or I don't know if that means anything, but it's I made it up. There we go. The other part of it too is that it stimulates me to do more than one thing.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely in the same boat.
Now I would love to just go to a gig and play drums.
Yeah.
I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
Would you take on a challenge like that? Would you be willing to say like, okay, in this gig, I'm just gonna play drums? Because are you on a search right now? Are you on a hunt to get filled in that aspect because you're chasing something to not necessarily check a box or wanting the next big thing, but it seems like that more and more aspect is a never-ending hunt. And I mean, I'm 48 snares and 10 drum kits deep, and I still haven't found my tone. But like, it's that never-ending hunt for like, oh, I think I found one. I think I found one, and that's in a physical matter of materialism. But when you're looking at the total picture of, okay, this is why I'm doing this. Yes, I need to get paid. I have my mortgage, and I want to be able to pursue the thing I love. But at the end of the day, if drums aren't really filling you when you come home, when you're not in front of the drums, when you're not on that stage, and you have to come home to your partner, to yourself, what fills you?
Yeah, well, that's twofold, right? I mean, when I'm out and doing something, I think I'm not necessarily chasing a situation where I can just play drums, because I do enjoy doing multiple things. But what that means, like what doing that on a gig would mean is that I'm doing it at a level where I'm being hired to do the thing that I do best. You know, at the end of the day, like I think I'm a really good playback guy, an Ableton session guy. I think I'm a really good. I can be a good MD. It's something I'm evolving all the time, and I can be, you know, all these different things. But at the end of the day, drums are the thing that has been with me the longest.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm looking for something where I can just play drums, but that symbolizes to me that I've made it to a certain level where I can show up and someone has set up my drums for me, not because I want this to feel spoiled, but because that means that the circumstance that I'm in, the artist that I'm playing for, the rooms we're playing in, mandate have those extra bodies in the room, like helping set up the stage so that I can literally wake up and get myself right and show up and just play drums. That playing at that level and operating on that level in whatever arena or stadium that is, or theater, that would be very fulfilling for me. Not because I don't want to be spoiled, or I don't need to be taken care of, but that's a goal. That's a goal of mine, is to be able to move rooms like that.